When I was younger, I was like massively into fantasy and fiction books. I mean, I remember reading a Magic Treehouse book every single night in elementary school, and I liked Fablehaven, Percy Jackson, Harry Potter, things like that. I mean, there's so many good fiction and fantasy books out there. As I started to get older, I started reading more like self-help and I guess books that would help me develop, self-improve. And especially as I got into running, I thought, well, why not read books on running? And so I've read quite a few books on running, but there's one in particular that really stands out to me. There's really three, but the one I want to talk about today is Eat and Run by Scott Jurek. I'm a big fan of David Goggins' books, Can't Hurt Me, Never Finish. Those have absolutely changed my life. Maybe more so than Eat and Run by Scott Jurek, but there's something special about Eat and Run. And for those of you not familiar, Scott Jurek is just an absolute legend in the ultra space. I mean, just set plenty of course records, and when he was competing, he was just winning races back to back. I think there's a story of him winning Western States, which is a 100-mile trail race, and I believe it was a week or 2 weeks later he went and won Badwater 135, which is 135 miles in Death Valley. Absolutely incredible athlete. I think he set a record for some sort of record running 160 plus miles in just 24 hours. So, an absolute legend, right? And he's also vegan, and that's a part of his book. Is a big part of it is the eat aspect of eating clean and being vegan, and he offers recipes in each chapter. And I went vegan for a little bit just to experiment with it. I didn't see anything that surprising or worth noting in the month I was vegan. There's other diets that have worked better for me when it comes to performance and health and energy. But the real reason why his book impacted me so greatly is because it just filled me with this fire. Like, as I started getting into ultra running, I was probably a year and a half into running ultras, and this book just felt me with like a deep desire to work and train hard. I mean, it was something about Scott just talking about his trials and tribulations, his upbringing, his life story, and also like the things he would put himself through in order to be the best is just like inspiring. It's hard not to take energy from that, I think, if you're reading a book from one of the greats, right? I mean, it's people get so inspired by Michael Jordan or Michael Phelps or Usain Bolt or athletes that are absolutely dominant and perform at the highest level and are the best in the whole world, or maybe in history, right? And as someone who's wanted to push myself and really make it, if you will, in ultra running and at some point go pro, I think that would be amazing to be sponsored and compete at a high level in ultra running. That's something I want and I've been thinking about for years. This book just was so inspiring to hear what it takes to be at that level. And so if you're looking for motivation or desire, or maybe you're feeling like you're in a lag or you're not getting after your training and running like you should or want to, pick up books by athletes that are runners, because it's just hard not to get like their energy and their impact and how they influence is just so palpable in these books, and the stories they tell and the mindset they go through. And in a lot of ways, a book like Eat and Run, Scott's relatable in a sense, even though I'm nowhere close to his level at all. It's just like you realize these people are human and they deal with struggles and have issues, and it's not all perfect. And I think sometimes we forget that when we're watching professional athletes just dominate. So I listen to it on Audible, which is great because Scott reads his book himself. Sometimes authors have someone else read it for them on Audible, but he reads his own book, so you're hearing his voice. And I'm sure it's a great, you could physically read it, but as someone who drives and travels a lot, I love audiobooks. So there's so many other books out there that can inspire you, like Eat and Run. But this was one that I loved, and me and Scott have very different opinions on nutrition and some social and political and economic issues he mentions in the book. Like, I have different opinions than him, but his stories are just so incredible. It's hard not to be inspired to get after it. So Eat and Run by Scott Jurek is a great book, and if you're looking for a little bit of inspiration or motivation, or at least opening your eyes to what's possible, it's an absolute must in my opinion. if you like more, or if you're looking for more running tips and tricks or stories, I post regular content on my YouTube channel, so feel free to subscribe. I'd love to have you along for the ride and the things I explain and talk about. If not, I appreciate your time. I know it's super valuable, and I hope to see you on the trails sometime soon.